in the UK on party paramilitary on international religious freedom report on Nigeria launched a few days ago. The report, which also acknowledges the importance of accurate, unbiased, depoliticized and untruthful information when it comes to understanding the realities in Nigeria, however, notes that when uncritical attention is afforded to critics with dubious intentions, it only becomes hard both for the government and the people of Nigeria to engage in constructive dialogue in resolving differences and uphold what is enshrined in the Constitution. And the federal government says it has expended close to 4.5 billion naira to 31 federal teaching and medical centers in the country on payment of hazard and inducement allowances for April and May this year. Minister of Labour and Employment Chris Ngige disclosed this after briefing President Muhammadu Buhari on the actions taken so far to halt the ongoing strike embarked on by members of the National Association of Resident Doctors earlier this week. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that the minister is optimistic that the NAD would soon call off the industrial action.
Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, in company of the Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, and Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Festus Keyamo San, had briefed President Muhammadu Buhari on the strike by the National Association of Resident Doctors and actions taken leading to progress towards ending the strike.
In the payment, because we are paying them for the arrears of April and May. And the payment for June will also be done immediately. These ones are sorted out. So we have expended 4.5 billion as we speak this morning for these payments.
Ngige says the federal government will facilitate a meeting between the resident doctors and the Governors Forum to address the issues concerning state.
The issue of health is on the concurrent list. So the federal government will do their own, and the state governments are also expected to do their own. Some of their grievances are on what they feel that the state governments have not done.
Minister of Health Osage Hanire explains that the president was visibly unhappy considering the implications of the strike action at this time when all hands must be on deck to protect Nigerians from the coronavirus pandemic.
And what we have also urged the resident doctors to do is to have some trust in the system. This is a government, a regime that has always lived up to its expectations and always met its promise. And we hope that they will understand that the fight against COVID-19 in particular and the fight against all diseases in general is a collective responsibility of everybody. It is not just government as a person. We as professionals have an obligation on our own.
The association on Sunday had instructed its members to down tools over a shortage of personal protective equipment and poor remuneration for members as they battle the raging coronavirus pandemic. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Existing polio infrastructure to ensure no vaccine preventable disease suffers in the country, also strengthening the fight against coronavirus pandemic. Minister of Health Dr. Osage Ehinere indicated that a Zoom meeting to celebrate the acceptance of Nigeria's wild poliovirus-free documentation by the African Regional Certification Commission for Polio Eradication, an organ of the World Health Organization, Oluseyi Adelbo reports.
The fight to eradicate wild poliovirus in Nigeria has since been on for 3 decades, and the good news is that Nigeria is close to being declared polio-free. This was coming from the acceptance of the documentation on Nigeria's wild polio-free status by the African Regional Commission for Certification of Polio Eradication, ARCC. At this Zoom meeting, key actors in the fight against polio in Nigeria described the acceptance as a huge milestone, calling for focus at maintaining the successes and building on it.
We need to continue focus as we celebrate this obviously very salutary milestone.
And over the past few years, needs to be sustained so that we can continue improving routine immunization and primary health care.
Minister of Health says President Muhammadu Buhari is applauding efforts of the National Primary Health Care Development Agency, partners, stakeholders, donors, as well as frontline workers for their dedication to ending the scourge.
After we defeated the polio virus, coronavirus has appeared. So there is no rest time, and NPHCDA will also be involved in this battle to make sure that Nigerians are kept safe.
Make sure that we put in place all of the strategies that has brought us here today. So continue to vaccinate kids no matter where they are, even in the security compromised areas. We'll continue to carry out a limited number of campaigns in those areas where the routine immunization is not good enough.
Nigeria is expecting a certificate that will declare the country wide polio-free at a meeting of health ministers of the Africa's region of the World Health Organization, WHO, in August 24th to 28th in Abuja. Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
And Panorama continues from here in Abuja with me, the former Washington. Take a break now. Panorama continues in a moment. Do stay.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
Thanks for staying tuned. Now, worried by the challenge of insecurity in the country, the Northern Governors Forum met on Thursday, 18th June 2020 to review the security situation in the northern region. The meeting, conducted via teleconferencing, was presided over by Chairman of the Forum and Governor of Plateau State, Simon Bakola, along a statement by the Director of Press Public Affairs to the Governor, Dr. Makut Simon Macham, indicates that the governors expressed concern about the level of insecurity in the region and agreed to set up standing committees to interface with security agencies, traditional rulers, and engage community watch groups to enforce the security measures, while commending President Muhammadu Buhari and the Nigerian security security forces for their efforts in tackling insecurity in the region. The governors also want the federal government to accelerate the livestock transformation plan and look into the ECOWAS protocol on the cross-border movement of people and particularly headers into Nigeria. Meanwhile, the Northern Elders Forum has called on the coalition of northern groups to suspend its planned peaceful protest over the insecurity in the north. Director of Publicity and Advocacy of the forum, Hakim Baba Ahmed, at a press briefing in Abuja, said the group has acknowledged presidential intervention on the lingering security challenges and believes that protests and marches are not the only means of resolving crisis.
States in the northwest to meet with governors and convey his concerns and plans to take firmer action against banditry, wrestling, kidnapping, and rapists who have made lives of our people virtually valueless in the north.
The National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party has approved the continuation of the screening exercise by the screening committee for the September governorship election in Edo State. A statement from the party's National Organizing Secretary, Austin Akubundu, says the committee is mandated to screen all aspirants for the upcoming 2020 governorship election in Edo State. The committee has Right Honorable Kingsley Chinda as chairman, Chief Oladimeji Fabiyi, Senator Joy Modi and Hajia Aishat Hasindu as members, while Right Honorable Boyele Bekeme serves as secretary. The exercise is scheduled to continue on Saturday, 20th June 2020 at the NWC Hall, Wadata Plaza, Abuja by 10 o'clock in the morning. The United Nations General Assembly in 2015 proclaimed 19th June as the International Day for the Elimination of Sexual Violence in Conflict in order to raise awareness on the need to put an end to conflict-related sexual violence. In this report, Basi Itaipang takes a look at forms of sexual violence, the economic impact.
Violence refers to rape and other forms of sexual violence perpetrated against women and men, directly or indirectly, during conflict situations. Records show that 1 out of every 3 women and 1 out of every 30 men have experienced sexual violence in a lifetime.
In what situation? Violating women. His crime, his prosecution should be as if he has committed genocide against a group of people, especially the crime of sexual violence in armed conflict. No.
The normal human being will not rape. So the society is involved, the security is involved that is supposed to protect the people.
To highlight and put an end to these challenges around the world, inform the destination for this day.
We say elimination of sexual violence in conflict situations that relates to rape, forced prostitution, forced sterilization, forced marriages, everything, that has to do with sexual offense or sexual violence in a dysfunctional society.
The government have to rise up, the NGOs have to rise up, and then we need to all come together and fight this.
Though Nigeria is not in a war situation, advocates frown on the rampant cases of rape in the country, with emphasis on drastic action against perpetrators.
So we need to come out with boldness as women and cry out and look at our children and tell the men, redeem their glory by leaving our daughters alone.
This advocates say is a serious public health and human rights problem with long-term consequences on women.
Stop the violence.
Combating impunity for sexual violence is a central aspect of deterring and preventing such crimes. It is also a central element of providing redress for victims. Bati Taiba, NTA News.
The United Nations has applauded the federal government's commitment towards the protection of refugees in the country. This was a chat organized by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in partnership with the United Nations Refugee Agency to commemorate this year's World Refugee Day. Ruth Aguele reports.
Globally,
The challenges of refugees remain predominant as they struggle for survival in the midst of conflicts that has given rise to their displacements. Attention to this group of people necessitated the World Refugee Day, observed every 20th of June, to raise awareness on their protection and inclusion.
Because it demonstrates our commitment.
Different partners at this gathering are lending their voices as a way to show commitment even as the world battles with a dire pandemic.
This year World Refugee Day was carefully crafted out as everyone can make a difference, every action counts. The government of Nigeria under President Muhammadu Buhari deployed an inclusive approach in carrying out humanitarian interventions.
We make a strong statement today to say that we recognize you, we stand with you, and will continue to support you.
We are one human community. Whether you're a refugee, an IDP, whether you are you or me, we all count and we all need each other.
And I'm giving a big thank you to our leaders.
The general interest is for more concerted efforts and determined actions for sustainable development and inclusive society for all. In Abuja, Ruth Aguela, NTA News.
OPEC is giving underperforming countries which have not yet submitted final plans for conformity to the agreed production adjustments until Monday, 22nd June 2020, to submit their schedules for compensation to the OPEC Secretariat. This is part of the outcome of the 19th OPEC Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee held via video conference in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic shock. Lydia Sampson reports.
The Joint Ministerial Committee reiterated the critical role that the Declaration of Cooperation continues to play in supporting oil market stability and economic recovery. Under the chairmanship of Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, Saudi Arabia's Minister of Energy, and co-chair Alexander Novak, Minister of Energy of the Russian Federation. The conference reviewed the severe global economic downturn as well as the monthly report prepared by the Joint Technical Committee and recent developments in the global oil market. The JMC also analyzed immediate prospects for the remainder of 2020 and into 2021. The committee took note of the overall conformity of 87% for the month of May 2020. It also observed individual country conformity levels and reiterated the critical importance that all participating countries achieve their 100% level and make up for any monthly shortfalls in the months of July, August and September. It welcomed the expressed commitments from those countries below the 100% in May conformity level and specific compensation plans, highlighting how this will be accommodated and delivered between July and September. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, has called for more commitments to the law by judicial officers. He made the call while swearing in the new president of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Domban Mensem. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okeowo has the story.
Born 63 years ago in Shendam, now Plateau State, Justice Monica Domban Mensem now becomes the 7th president of the Court of Appeal since its establishment in 1977. She became a justice of the court in 2003 and has since established herself as a hardworking and highly intellectual justice. It is this quality that the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, called on her to carry on to her duties as the President of the Court of Appeal.
Please continue with your attitude. You have to cooperate together, all of you, from top to bottom, so that the work will continue to progress.
Justice Monica Domban Mensem promised to sustain and improve on the judicial standards of the nation's intermediate court.
I will do my best and ensure that justice, as we have always known it, is applied to the best of our abilities.
Key judicial and political personalities found their way to the swearing-in.
She has made history in the lives of Plateau people, and particularly for me as a lawyer. I feel very proud that this is happening during my time.
And I'm sure she has those qualities that will make her do very well in her present position. We will not be disappointed.
The Court of Appeal plays a very crucial role in the polity Nigeria currently enjoys. And so the swearing-in of Justice Monica Dongan-Mensing will go a long way in consolidating these gains, both judicially and politically. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
And now sports. Ministry of Youth and Sports Development partners FCT administration on the transformation of the Moshood Abiola National Stadium. Ayodeji Makinde has details.
In just a week of its official unveiling as the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, efforts are being intensified for an appropriate public-private partnership arrangement to restore the lost pride of the national monument. This formed the thrust of discussion when Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, met FCT Minister Mohammed Musa Bello in Abuja.
We look at the competencies that the FCT has. I want to see a way in which we can partner and collaborate and leverage on them.
It's very important, Honorable Minister, for the ministry to work out a long-term sustainable plan to make sure that once it is rehabilitated, then it can continue to do that.
In a related development, Sports Minister Sunday Dare has received the report by Edo 2020 Sports Festival Committee on the possibilities of hosting the event this year after coronavirus pandemic caused an initial postponement. The committee, chaired by Tonobok Okowa, has made several recommendations on dates, processes and procedures as the ministry assures on observing all guidelines before a decision on the festival is reached. Away from Nigeria, the German Bundesliga continues, just as the English Premier League, where Arsenal seek to bounce back from a 3-0 defeat to Manchester City midweek when they play against Brighton and Hove Albion in a match that will be beamed live on the NTA on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. With sports updates, Ayodeji Makinde, NTA News.
And that concludes Panorama for today. We thank you for watching.